Hello, chess fans. Welcome to another episode of Chess Chat, a program brought to you live from the Rollstone and Bank and Trust studio at Fitchburg Access Television. I am George Marajanian, program director of the Wachusett Chess Club at Fitchburg State University. This club, the second oldest chess club in Massachusetts, and currently the club with the largest weeknight attendance of any chess club in New England, meets every Wednesday evening in rooms 143 and 145 of the McKay complex at the university. And with me, once again, for this episode of Chess Chat, is our award-winning director, Darren Damer-Fitchburg, recipient of FATV's prestigious Boulder Award in 2009. And assisting him in the control room, and also on camera, is fellow resident and longtime Wachusett Chess Club member, Brian Bigelow. And sitting across from me is another longtime Wachusett Chess Club member, a chess author, a chess photographer, our Wachusett Chess Club statistician, a very active tournament player, my co-host, Dave Couture of Westminster. Hello, Dave.
Hello, George.
Well, Dave, today we have the honor and privilege of having a former Wachusett Chess Club champion, a current club member, but he is joining us for this edition of Chess Chat because he just competed a few weeks ago in a huge tournament in Parsippany, New Jersey, the World Amateur Team Championship, which drew nearly 1,400 players and several hundred teams, probably over 300 teams at least, in Parsippany. This has to be the biggest turnout of all tournaments held in this country. And we have him, and our club champion from 2011 who competed in this is none other than Rob King, our club champion from the past. Hello, Rob. Welcome. Welcome to Chess Chat.
Hi, George. Hi, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Okay, Rob. Well, we're gonna before we get into one of your games from the event, because you picked this game out for us for you to present, we want to ask you some questions about you. For example, at what age did you actually learn chess? What was your age when you learned chess? Do you remember?
I think I was around 11 or 12. I remember picking up a friend of my dad's actually he was from Germany and he had lost his job and came to live with us for a short period. And he was quite good. I'd probably estimate his strength at 1,800 or something. And he taught me the game and it got me, it was a Chessmaster 3000 on the computer. And so I just started playing a lot with him. Didn't even know what rated chess was. We just played with each other quite a bit. So yeah, I mean, it started off then, and I played a few tournaments when I was younger, but I really didn't take it seriously until my mid-20s, really. So I took quite a long period off.
Now, where did you grow up? Did you grow up actually in Worcester? As I think I.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Worcester, Mass. I moved to Millbury, Mass, when I was headed to high school, and ended up going to Blackstone Valley Tech, which is a vocational school out in Upton. But then for most of my college education, I did still do that in Worcester. I went to Clark University for my undergrad. I did business school at WPI. So I'm very much a full-blooded Worcester guy.
So is that where you played your first rated tournament in Worcester?
Yeah, I think my first rated tournament was at Bancroft School over on the the west side? Not even the west side. But yeah, I played there. It was I guess you had mentioned to me it was some sort of team tournament. I even remember some of the games there.
Oh, wow.
I remember a game I played where I sacked I traded a queen for 2 rooks and it didn't really work out.
All right.
And yeah, so I still kind of remember some games when I was super young. So that was my first tournament, but then after that I played a few rated tournaments organized by Steve and Dan over at on James Street at the old billiards club. But I think cut my teeth on at the tournaments that you organized, George, they were unrated tournaments at the Technic Bookseller, and I had the opportunity to play lots of really good players. I remember even Predrag Chikabaki used to play there quite a bit, but others like Jeff Polizzetti, Josh Marcus, Brad Wyatt. There was a lot of really good players who played this unrated.
Oh yeah, those are well-known
tournament.
Worcester County players. And of course,
Yeah.
Jeff Polizzotti it was the stepson of the New England legend John Curto.
Yeah.
Really?
And you got to actually play John Curto eventually in your career.
Yeah, many times actually. He might be my most frequent opponent, maybe ever.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, he's up there. So yeah, I think I owe a lot of my early chess development, if you want to call it that, to you, George, and to the tournaments that you organized there.
Yeah, and those were unrated tournaments. They were fun tournaments.
Yeah.
They were not rated by the U.S. Chess Federation, but they actually were very popular events at the Tatnall booksellers in Worcester.
That's gone now, isn't it? There is no more.
But there is actually a Tatnall bookseller, I think, not in Worcester, but is it Westboro or?
Oh, really?
Yeah, or maybe that's closed. I have no idea what the status of Tatnall booksellers is, but. And I remember the year that Bruce Pandolfini, the great, very prolific chess writer, Bruce Pandolfini, did a book signing at one of the tournaments at Tatnall Booksellers.
I think you also had Yasser Sarawan come one time.
Well, Yasser Sarawan came to the Wachusett Chess Club and did a simul in September 1984.
Really?
Yeah. So yes, Yasser has come to Fitchburg. It's possible he went also to Worcester.
I think he did. I think
you're right.
Meeting him.
I think yes.
Yeah.
I think he did. I think he did actually come to Worcester at that time. Okay, now, we're going to get into actually your participation in this World Amateur Team Championship. Do you remember actually your first time you played in the World Amateur Team Championship, which was actually originally called the Eastern Team Championship? Yeah,
It still is, isn't it?
Huh?
Isn't
They use the term now world. It's now called the World Amateur Team Championship. Yeah.
Okay.
And you might talk about, for example, you might talk about the organizer, Steve Doyle. You must know
Steve Doyle.
You know Steve Doyle?
Yeah, he's still there. And he actually, I ran into him this year, and he had very nice things to say about you, George, actually. But yeah, it's an amazing event. I can't remember the first time I played. It's been a while now. I usually go with the same group of friends. The four of us go every single year, and it's a bunch of fun. There's no cash prizes.
Right.
You're not going to compete for anything real, but it's more the atmosphere. It's I think the best word to describe it is it's a spectacle.
Right.
Was this year the biggest ever?
The turnout this year was huge.
It's
close
gotta
to
be there.
1,400
Yeah, it was close. Yeah, it was definitely packed. I know that they sold out like the max number of teams. I think a couple weeks in advance.
Oh wow!
So yeah, it was something. And the level of competition there that the players that play range from absolute beginners up to former candidates challengers. I mean,
Really?
Leonid Udasin plays there every single year, and Udasin played in the candidates tournament. He actually, I think, lost a tough match to Ivanchuk at some point in the 90s. And there's just tons of famous grandmasters who are always coming in and out of there. I even met Gary Kasparov one year there, right?
Really?
So
Wow.
he didn't play, but he visited.
Is there a rule about the
Udasin.
average rating of a team? Is there a
Yeah,
maximum?
so 2199.9. So it has to be below 2200.
Right.
Okay.
And there's some rules about the difference between board 1 and board 4.
Okay.
Like there were historically some teams that involved 3 super strong grandmasters and then a complete amateur. There was one team famously called GGGG. There was 3 capital G's and a lowercase g. And they just ran the table, and so they put some rules in to prevent that from happening.
Right.
But it's really interesting, like the teams that become competitive, because you could have a really strong player on board 1. I mean, we have an international master, but that means that you you're leaving something on the table for board 4.
Right.
There's some teams that are constructed to be 2190 across all 4 boards.
Wow.
I mean, it could. I think the last team that we played, the last round of this tournament, board 1 was like 2300. I played at 2200, and then the last 2 boards were definitely over 2000. So it's all the teams are constructed differently. You definitely get some really great tough games there. Very slow time controls, but it's a big party. It's super fun.
Right. Now, why don't you let our viewers know what team you played on? You've been playing on the same team now. I can tell you your first time you played in this event was February 2013. You've played since 2013. That was the first time you played in the World Amateur team. But why don't you let our viewers know who was on the team, or your team? Who was on board 1? A well-known player.
Yeah, on board 1 we have international master Dennis Schmeloff, a very good friend of mine for a very long time. He's quite strong. He's got a GM norm. I'm on board 2, right? I float somewhere around 2200. And then on board 3 we have Todd Chase, who's an expert from Weston, Mass. He used to frequent the Waltham Chess Club quite a bit.
Right.
And then on board 4 we have Matt Phelps, who's a FIDE arbiter and an overall great guy. And he's also
a Wachusett Chess Club member.
Now a Wachusett Chess Club member.
Yeah. So half of your team consisted of Wachusett Chess Club members. Yeah. You were on board 2 and Matt Phelps on board 4. But we also had several other Wachusett Chess Club members play in this World Amateur team. We actually had our Sean Su, our 10-year-old Sean Su from Lexington, and Frank Cow also played there, and Zachary Pan, who was playing with us, and I was playing, I believe, in Framingham at the Metro West Club. So we actually Wachusett Chess Club members who played in this year's in this year's World Amateur team. Yeah. Now I want you to tell our viewers the name of your team, because I find it very interesting, the name that you selected for your team this year.
Yeah, so we change our team name every single year. It's always some sort of joke for us. So this year is why must I lose to this Vidit, right? So we always try to throw in a name there that has something to do with a super strong grandmaster. So mentioning Vidit Gujarathy, who's going to be playing in the candidates coming up in Toronto.
Yeah.
I wasn't responsible for this year's name.
Yeah, right. But
I know that George knows the origin of the.
I will give the origin. Now, you're saying the team name was "Why Must I Lose to This Vidit?" And Vidit again is an Indian grandmaster, Vidit Gujarathy, who, by the way, became the 30th grandmaster from India. He actually, when he acquired the GM title, he was the 30th grandmaster to do so. But this title that your team adopted, "Why Must I Lose to Vidit?" is based on a quote, a very famous quote that was uttered by the great Aaron Nimzowitsch, who lost to a German master, a well-known German master by the name of Zamisch. Fritz Zamisch is well known because of the variation named after him in the King's Indian Defense. There was a tournament played in Berlin, Germany in the late 20s. I think it was 1928. Nimzowitsch was paired against Zamisch in the last round of this tournament and lost. Upon losing the game, Nimzowitsch got up, mounted the table where the game was being played, and shouted at the top of his lungs, "Gegen diesen Idioten muss ich verlieren," which is literally translated, "I have to lose to this idiot." Yeah, and this has been historically documented that Nimzowitsch uttered this in German at this tournament, and your team name was adopted from that. "Why must I lose to this idiot?" And he expressed it in his displeasure. It cost him first place in this tournament in Berlin, Germany. So anyways, I just wanted to point that out, a historical note, because I love history. You know how I love chess history.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So now, can you tell actually our viewers when you became a national master? When actually, do you remember the circumstances the time frame, the circumstances under which you became a national master when the USCF awarded you the national master title?
Yeah, I think it was in 2016, if I'm correct there.
Well, I will tell you it was 2017.
2017.
I can tell you the date, the place. Yeah.
And I remember the player because it happened at the Wachusett Chess Club.
Yes.
And I beat Brett Kildall to do it.
Yes, you did.
And I took an insane amount of risk in that game to try and win. I felt it was win or lose. I was not interested in a draw. We got to a draw on rook ending, and I just kept on playing for tricks, and I got lucky enough just to catch him, and for an opportunity showed up for just one move, and that was it, and it helped me cross the 2200 barrier, which I never felt like I was going to be able to do that. When I came back into chess after taking so much time off in my mid-20s, I was only rated 1,000, and
Really?
I saw all these really strong players. And so I always thought that 2,000 might be my cap, and that I even thought that was an unrealistic goal. And it was quite a journey to do that in my 30s, and I struggled to maintain that rating. But yeah, it was that was a big goal that I set for myself.
Yeah, and you did that. You beat Brett Kildall in the final round. It was round 5 of the Everett Siskinen Memorial Tournament on April 12th, 2017. That's the date you accomplished that.
Wow.
So is that title just based on you break the 2200 barrier? And,
Oh, yeah.
And once you break it, you get the title?
You never lose that title. Rob will always be a national master. We'll never lose that title. Yeah.
At least in title, in spirit.
It's a title for life.
For me, I want to get the rating back. This tournament that we're going to speak about today was a good stride in that direction after I had a couple bad results at the Wachusett Club. But I gained, I don't know, 35 points or something at this last tournament. So I'm right back there.
Okay.
Right about there, yeah.
Well, why don't we actually get into the game? You selected for us a game that you played in the World Amateur Team Championship, where, by the way, you were undefeated. You had 4 wins and 2 draws, like Dennis Schmeloff on top board, who also had 4 wins and 2 draws. But what round did you play? What the game you're going to present to us? What round was this played in?
Yeah, that was round 4, I think.
Round 4, okay.
So it's an evening game,
right?
So we had already played a long game in the morning, and the game I played in the morning was particularly brutal. It was a grind where I was probably lost out of the opening, and then sacrificed pawns to get counterplay and somehow weaseled a win out of it. So I was already pretty tired and drained. And then I had to play this kid in the afternoon, and kids have endless energy. And so I didn't know what to make of it. But it was I thought it was a pretty instructive game. It's not the toughest game I've ever played, but it does highlight kind of some interesting concepts about material and piece activity, and how to be patient and improve your pieces before you execute your plan. So I just thought it was an interesting game to show. I also, after I played it, as soon as my opponent resigned, several people followed me outside to say that was the most painful game of chess they have ever witnessed in their entire life. Wow. And I think the viewers will understand once they see this game, because it was particularly excruciating it looked like my opponent's soul left his body.
Wow.
After like move 15. Like it was just because the game was strategically decided. And he just had to wait because it's a team tournament. And in a team tournament, you don't resign early. Right. You're supposed to play to the end to try and give your team a chance in case, the person messes up.
Right.
But he easily could have resigned once I rendered his position completely silly.
Well, with that being said,
do you want to quickly mention his candidacy for MACA?
Oh yes, we would be remiss if we did not mention what your plans are regarding chess politics.
Yeah, so I am running for MACA president. trying to I'm bringing myself and actually a cohort of people are running with me to try and just shake things up and change the way that chess is operated in the state. There's lots of opportunity to make a MACA membership be something that's valuable for members, and it's not just permission to play in a few tournaments. And I think there's opportunities to bring more transparency and and some integrity to the organization. And I just want to inject some new energy, right? So a lot of the people who are running alongside me, it's their first time in chess politics, and I think we have lots of really good ideas to bring to the table. And partnering with a lot of the people who have experience running MACA over the years, I think we can really make a difference and grow Massachusetts chess, but also make it a place that's a safe community for children and one that just makes it again valuable to be a member. Yeah. Right now, there are no real benefits to being a MACA member since the Chess Horizons magazine was killed off many years ago, and I think the team and I have put together a lot of ideas of how to make it more valuable, by working with different vendors to try and provide MACA level discounts. We have lots of ideas. I don't want to promise anything too soon, but we have a lot of energy, and it's all rooted in trying to grow chess and do the best thing for the chess community, and especially with children, and making sure that it's a place that they can grow and be in a safe environment, that when parents drop them off, they can trust that they're in a very good and wholesome environment. And I want to make sure that I call out actually the people that I am running with. So Matt Phelps he's a FIDE arbiter, longtime friend, and mentor really, and he's going to be running for VP alongside with me. And then running for board, we have another Wachusett Chess Club member, Mike Urbonis. We have Katerina Odnorozhenko, who's actually moved here from Ukraine a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. She's a master level women chess player. Very, very strong and plays in the Ukrainian style. And I think she's a fantastic addition. She's also married to Dennis Schmella. So I love having her aboard. We actually have a newcomer to kind of the USCF environment in Dustin Hopkins, who organizes a terrific casual club in Worcester whose size rivals the Wachusett Club, of all brand new people to chess. And Dustin has terrific ideas. He actually came from the late Jerry Williams, his club at the Quinsigamond Community College. So he learned chess there, and he's bringing a lot of really fresh ideas to the game here. We're also running with Nicholas Sterling, who is currently on the MACA board, and he ran the Waltham Chess Club and runs lots of scholastic events. I mean, I think he's one of the better organizers in all of Massachusetts chess, as well as Frank Delbonis, who's from Rhode Island and does, I think it's Ocean State Chess. And he's got lots of ideas. I mean, this guy is doing chess events every single day of the week. I mean,
really?
His level of energy is unparalleled. And so I think this team that we're bringing together is going to be fantastic. And it's going to bring a lot of fresh ideas and new blood into chess politics. So hopefully, if any of the viewers here are voting MACA members, I hope we can get your support and hopefully bring some benefits to you.
Well, you have Dave and my support.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
We support your candidacy and your slate of officers and directors. Yeah, we wish you well and hope that you win.
Absolutely. Yep.
Now to the game.
Now to the game.
Okay, in this game, you played for the World Amateur team. You had white against your opponent. And how did you open the game? With what move?
D4. I'm always a D4 guy. So most people who have ever played against me, know that I can mix it up a little bit. It's usually D4 or C4.
Okay. All right. So your opponent responded with D5. We have that on the board here. Okay, how did you continue, Rob, on move 2?
So c4. Right, just
or did you
Queen's
play
Gambit.
Knight F3.
Did you play knight
Oh,
F3
I played
first?
Knight F3 first. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's some subtle here. So I know we
Yeah.
transpose. So I go
Right.
Knight F3 first because when you're playing a young kid, sometimes they'll have things like the Black Redeemer
Right.
or the Budapest Gambit in their repertoire. But the Black Redeemer is I don't want to face this.
Right, okay. Well, this is one way
So-
to avoid it. Right.
Yeah, so I do a move order trick to take that off the table. It does come with some concessions that in some Queen's Gambit lines you don't get to play the F3 and E4 lines.
Right.
But I'm fine with that. This is part of my normal repertoire.
Okay.
It also leaves it open where if he plays E6 a little casually, I might actually go to a collie system, which is what little kids hate to defend the collie system.
Yes.
But it gives him an opportunity to choose between a Slav or between something where I'll go to a collie. So
Okay.
so I apologize. It was Knight F3 first.
Okay. All right. So Black responded with knight F6 on the second move. Okay.
Yep.
Logical
and then-
move. Yep. Now
Then I play E3.
Yeah.
E3 for you. Okay.
Which seems kind of passive, right? But the idea here is to try and see what kind of move order he wants to go into.
Right.
If he's going to play like he does in the game into a Slav setup, then E3 is part of the main line.
All right.
If he plays E6, then I can actually go into a collie. And, like I said, little kids don't really like defending that position. At least my experience is, I think, completely undefeated with probably no draws.
Okay.
Playing against little kids like that. So I play E3 just to see what he'll do, and he comes back with Bishop F5.
That's what he did. Bishop F5 is what he did. He developed the bishop to F5.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so now we'll transpose into into now just a normal Slav, right? So
Right.
C4.
C4 now. Okay. All right. So now it's his. He has to make a decision here. Does he take the pawn? Does he defend the pawn? He can play E6, but he played E6.
Yeah.
Yep. He played E6. Now that the bishop is out, it's not shut in. Okay. So E6 was played by him, and now it's your fifth move. How did you continue?
Knight C3, I believe.
Right. Knight C3 was played.
Yep. This is just gets into it, and I think he responds C6.
With C6, right. And we definitely
Yeah,
have a
so-
Slav here after C6, yep. A Slav
This is,
defense.
mainline normal Slav.
Yeah, it's a Queen's Gambit with a Slav defense being played. All right, now how did you continue? Move 6. What did you play?
Just Bishop E2. So I definitely want, the idea for white here is I don't want to just trade off light square bishops. Like you could go Bishop D3 and challenge the bishop on D5, but the bishop on F5 is actually a target, and I'd rather have the bishop pair in these types of positions. So you play Bishop E2 just to get some development, and I'll prepare Knight H4 at some point.
Okay.
And get the bishop pair.
Okay. Now, his 6 moves was Bishop E7. He develops here. Both sides are ready to castle, it looks like here. What did you do on move 7?
Yeah. So
Yeah, and Bishop E7, by the way, is kind of a weak move. Bishop E6 is a little bit more aggressive.
Yes.
But yeah, so I respond with castles, right? I mean, just simple developments, see where he wants to put his pieces, and yeah.
Okay. And what he did was also castle. Yeah. So that's what he did on his 7th move. Okay. What did you do next? Now,
And I'd
move
say
8.
the castle's actually there in his position was probably a little inaccurate in my eyes, because he really, the whole idea for white here is to play Knight H4, which is what I play now.
Right.
Right. But when he could have delayed castling and just played
Yes.
Knight BD7, so that when I go Knight H4, Bishop G6, I actually have to open the H file against my king.
Aha. Okay.
right.
But here, now that he's castled, there's no threat to my
Right.
king. So now we just go Knight H4 because I just want the bishop pair.
Right. All right. So he has no choice here. He's not going to save the bishop, but he doesn't want to have that capture taken on F5. He retreats the bishop to G6, Bishop G6. But that's not going to stop you from not taking the bishop.
Nope, we just take.
Knight takes G6. Okay. So that was his 9th move. Now it's his move, and he's going to recapture with the pawn toward the center. He's not going to take with the F pawn. he's going to take each H takes G6 toward the center with the capture. Okay, your 10th move now. What did you do here on move 10?
Yeah, I played queen c2, which probably isn't the most accurate of moves. I mean, the queen will likely go there no matter what.
Right.
Probably stronger was b3 right away.
Right. B3.
But
yes.
but it's still going to happen anyway.
Right.
But queen c2 it's just a move I know I'm going to make. So I figured just might as well make it.
Okay. All right. So now on his 10th move plays the knight on b8 to d7. Knight bd7 is what he does, developing that knight.
Do you remember what his rating was, by the way?
High 1800s, I think.
Okay.
So, not the strongest player. I mean, I definitely outrate him quite a bit.
Yeah.
But, 12 or 13-year-old kid, whatever he was, right at 1850, you have no idea what that even means.
Right, exactly.
Right.
So, he's playing the opening fairly decent.
Yep.
He seems like he knows it to a point.
Yep.
So seems fine now. And so now I just want to decide where I got to decide where the dark square bishop goes.
Yes,
Right.
but it's a shut in. Yeah, you have a shut in bishop needs to be deployed here. So you played
And
what?
so I played b3.
Right.
So I decide that one of the most important things in this position is actually controlling the e5 square. So if you think of where his pawn breaks are going to come from, it's either e6 to e5 or he's going to play c6 to c5.
Right.
Okay.
And in both cases, it would weaken d5, but he can prepare this. And I just decided that I want to put my pieces where I can start to control the e5 square as much as possible. And we'll see that later in the game that this becomes highly consequential.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So it's his 11th move. Now he chose not to play. He had the opportunity of playing e5. That was a possibility. It looks like. But he chose to play the rook on f8 to e8 instead. Played rook e8 was his move, developing the. I don't know. Again, he's blocked by his own e pawn here by placing that rook there.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty common maneuver though. The idea is he can.
Oh, yeah,
it
vacates the square for the. It does vacate the square for the knight to go to f8 and maybe hop over to h7. Yep.
Exactly. It's to give himself some space. So
it gives him space.
Think about,
yep.
Yeah, he'll put a knight on f8, and you can never get mated with a knight on f8, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
and then he'll probably play bishop d6 and start to prepare e5 under favorable circumstances. Right. He probably couldn't have done it right away because there'll be some tactics with taking on d5.
Yeah.
I'd take on e5, take on d5, and then I clear the knight. Probably knight takes d5 or something, and then there's bishop takes e5. So
okay.
All
right. So
there's some trickery there.
So what? It's your 12th move. What did you play now? Carry out your plan.
Yeah, just carry my plan. Bishop b2.
Right. Okay. So in response to bishop b2, he played rook c8. So he's actually developed. Now he's developed, except the queen. The queen is the only piece that has not been developed yet. But he's played rook to c8, put the rook on the c file, which is still closed. It's a closed file.
But it discourages me from taking on d5 if I want to.
Yes.
But I don't think I'm in the business of doing that for quite a while. I want to keep the tension. It's one of the points of b3 is to maintain a big, strong center. So I don't see the need to do it. So after that, I played rook a to d1.
Yep.
Yep.
Just putting the pieces on good squares and just trying to, I don't know exactly what I'm going to do yet. I have to wait to see what he's going to give me. But yeah, that seems like a good as square as any.
All right. Okay, in response to your move, he now played bishop d6. He redeploys the knight on e7 to d6, bishop d6.
Right.
On move 13.
Looks like he's preparing to push the e-pawn.
Yes, and now it looks like he is preparing the advance of the pawn to e5. That looks like a threat, the push to e5.
Yeah, it looks like a threat, and we're gonna extinguish this threat.
Right. How do you do that?
Handily.
How do you extinguish the threat of his playing e5?
Yeah. So essentially, what I started to see here in this position is that I could just put his entire position to sleep, and that's what I'm going to try to do.
Okay.
So I play pawn to c5. I pose the immediate question to that bishop, and it also makes his rook c8 move look a little foolish.
Yep.
Right.
So that's why I think rook c8 was probably premature. So now after c5, he has to decide, does the bishop go back home, perhaps to f8, where he
Right.
can defend the king? Or does he drop back to c7 or b8?
Right.
And I think he chose b8, which I think he chose wrong.
Yes.
Yes. Right. I think.
But
Yeah. So he
his
played.
idea is like, he thinks he can mate me someday. He puts it
Oh.
on b8, and he'll play queen c7 and make checkmate threats,
Okay.
right?
So-
But that's a little optimistic.
Too optimistic here. Bishop. So he played bishop e8.
And
yeah.
your notes, your original notes to the game, you said this is the beginning of Black's problems.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And so now we just close the door.
Close
with
the door.
F.
So,
now
now
we
you
play
stop, yeah. Now you stop the threat of any e5 on his part by playing
Right.
f4. Yeah.
So now his pieces are kind of dead, and I've taken away most of his important pawn breaks. And the only other pawn break that he can now think about, like he could play b6, but that's not going to do much. He could think about trying to get g5, but
Ah.
that'll just weaken his king.
Right.
So he's actually in a lot of strategic danger already. That if he gives me one or two free moves, the game's over. Like
Yeah.
before, with practically all material on the board, the game is actually close to decided.
Yeah, wow. Wow.
So yeah, he needs to be precise here, and I don't think he found the right way.
All right. So what he did now was play the knight on f6 to h7. He brings it back. And how did you respond to this after he played knight h7?
Yeah,
You-
so I just didn't see what his point was. So I just said, my pawns are actually pointed towards the queen side. If you look at my pawn chain, e3, d4, c5. So my play is on the queen side. So I play b4, intending to go, a4, b5, and try to create a weakness on the queen side.
Okay. Now here is where he responded with, on the 16th move, with f5. f5. That's rather interesting.
Interesting was a word
Yes,
for it.
right. Right.
I mean, I see his idea, like his point. If he's trying to lock up the king side too,
Yeah.
maybe he gets some sort of g5 move at some point, and maybe starts to try to whip up an attack on my king. You
Right.
can envision a position where he plays king f7, rook h8, g5,
Okay.
right? So you can envision like he's got some ideas here.
Right.
And so I saw a really interesting positional idea,
Yeah.
Yes.
which has some flaws,
Yep.
but it was hard to see the flaw. So I actually struck out here with a risky move with g4,
Yeah.
which seemed to confuse and surprise my opponent.
Yeah.
And the idea here is that he can't take on g4 because then I go queen takes g6, right?
Yeah.
And then all the highways to his king
yes.
are open.
Yeah.
Right? Bishop comes into d3.
Right.
That could be bad. And there's a huge strategic threat in this position of pawn to g5,
Oh, yes.
which will occur. And if that happens, then all of his pieces are neutered for the rest of the game.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
So there was only one opportunity for black here. This is the one chance in the game. Like this was the critical moment. If you missed it,
Yes.
the game's over. And I actually missed it. So I saw the first move, which he could play queen to h4.
Ah, so he could have played the queen out to h4 in
yes.
response to that. Yeah.
Right, which
Yeah.
which really does threaten the g4 pawn in some way.
Right.
But the real idea is that he's going to play pawn to g5 behind it. So right now,
Oh,
I
yes.
actually
Yes.
you're
Right. The pawn to g5 is a threat.
yes, because I can't take because there's a pin against that pawn.
Yeah.
And there's also a sneaky threat of knight to g5.
Right. Oh, yes. Knight coming in. Yeah.
Right. So knight to g5
yes.
is actually in the air
Yeah,
now,
because
right?
because the pawn cannot take the because of mate.
Checkmate.
The checkmate.
Because, yeah.
Yeah.
So here actually white's forced to play rook f2. And I had calculated this.
Yeah.
Oh, so okay, so he would have had to
The
you would-
defend.
you would
Rook
have
F2.
had
Yeah, I just defend H2.
The pawn H2. Yeah.
And what I had actually missed is that g5 is incredibly strong in that position, and his pieces come to life.
Yeah. So he missed. He missed that.
He
After
missed
you
this
played
opportunity.
g4.
Yeah.
So he could have played queen h4.
And this was his one chance.
His one chance.
This is his one chance.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. So now he put his knight back to f6.
Yeah,
And
then-
now we go g5.
Yeah, this knight on
that's-
H goes to F6. This
Yeah.
knight goes back to F6. And now you now play G5, attacking the knight,
Yeah.
forcing it to move again.
Yeah.
And he only has,
Right.
actually, it's a forced move. Well, no, it's not
pretty
a
much.
forced move. He has choices here, but he had 3 choices here.
And they're all bad.
Actually, 4, actually. Yeah, but he chose 94, right?
Yeah, which is, I think the engine stopped. It was probably the best move.
Yeah. So 94, he
but-
sinks in. All right.
Yep. And so we take it actually, which I think it might be the first thing where maybe beginner players would hesitate to take it right away because it looks like it gives him a nice big strong pawn on e4.
Right.
But the thing to notice here is one, that knight on e4 was his only active piece,
Yeah, right.
and the rest of it, the remaining pieces on the board, have absolutely zero future.
They're shut
can't
in.
move.
They're all,
shut in forever.
They're shut in.
Yeah.
So he recaptured that knight with the F pawn, not with the D pawn. So he takes actually F takes E4. F takes E4. Okay.
Yep.
All right. It is now your 20th move. How did you continue here?
B5.
Okay. So B5.
We're just gonna take on c6, create a weakness there,
Right.
and then just try to infiltrate on that side of the board because he's gonna have a hard time getting to that side of the board.
Right.
And this is where it's a psychological thing as well, because when you play a move like this, the typical response is what he did. You just lash out.
Right.
Because in this position, you have no moves.
Right.
Yeah.
And when that happens, it tends to induce mistakes.
Yeah.
And so here he lashed out with b6.
All right. B6.
Hoping to-
Yeah. That's what he played.
Yeah, he was hoping to break the position open, but obviously I had calculated this. So we take on c6 first.
Oh, B takes C6, right? And
Yep.
he has to recapture.
Yep.
So he
Let's
takes
recapture.
Rook takes C6 is his move. Okay, Rook takes C6.
And
Okay,
probably
so
what
you
he missed.
Yep. So what did you do now?
He probably missed here that
Yep.
I have queen a4 instead, because you might see bishop to b5
Yep.
and
Yep.
then c6, but then there's a pin on that on against my queen.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
here with queen a4, there's no pins.
No pin. All right.
And this is going to get really ugly.
So he has to save his rook under attack.
Yep.
All right. So he retreated the rook to C7. He brought it to C7, not to C8. He brought it actually to C7 on his 22nd move. And what you did is what here on the move 23?
Played c6, which actually is it's a move you have to sit there and calculate, right?
Right.
Because you want to make sure that pawn is not going to be a weakness.
Right. Right.
Right.
If I lose that pawn, then my position might struggle.
Right.
So I played a pawn to c6, and he has to move the knight.
He only has one move here. There's only one square for that knight to go to is F8. No other. You control all the other squares. Yeah. So knight F8 is what he played. It's your 24th move. How did you continue?
So after on 24, so now I go bishop to a3. So now what I'm going to do is maximize my pieces for quite a while, because I'm strategically winning, right? I can keep that pawn on c6. He really has no active plans at all. The only thing I'd have to even remotely worry about is somehow he shifts all his pieces to the H file and does something, which is easily thwarted. I also need to make sure that I avoid any piece sacrifices, like knight takes g5, that in a way that would expose my king.
Right. Right.
But he really doesn't have these options yet. So bishop a3. I just want to eventually plant my bishop onto d6 and just wreak havoc.
All right. So what he did, I don't understand. His next move is king h7. He played king h7 on move
It's easy to understand because he has no moves.
He doesn't have anything else.
So, all right. So is he going to do a dance here, or what are we going to see here? So two-step.
So we are going to have to start moving along
All right,
a
okay.
little more quickly.
Yeah.
So how did
we go?
What did you play now?
Yes. So what I'm going to do now for the next several moves is just improve the position of every single one of my pieces until it's optimal.
All right.
Right.
So first I go rook c1 to defend the c6 pawn,
And he
and then I think he just moves his king back.
He moves his
King
king
back.
back. King
He's
G8.
got nothing else to do.
Nothing else.
But wait. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
And
All right,
you.
and then I lift the rook up to c2,
All right.
right? Because
Vacating
eventually
the
I might
square for
double
the
on
other
the
rook.
c-file.
Okay.
Yep.
So in response to that, he now goes king F7. He brings the king
Yeah, which
over
is probably
to the.
where it belongs.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And
All
so
right.
now I want to put my bishop onto d6. So I go bishop to b4.
All right. So
Okay, bishop e4, good. And now he brings the knight to h7. Knight h7 is his move, okay?
it's kind of sad, but
You're right, you're right.
It's very sad. It's hard to watch.
Yeah.
Then queen a3.
Right.
Now queen a3.
Right.
So now I'm going to bring.
yep.
Yep.
Okay.
And this was the idea of rook c1, was just to make sure that I keep c6 protected.
Okay.
So he plays rook c8.
So now rook c8.
Rook c8 is what he plays, okay?
Yep. And so we just hit him with bishop a6.
Now you attack the rook with bishop a6. So he's forced to move the rook again to save it. So he plays rook c7, all right? However,
And now we go bishop d6.
Bishop to d6.
and so
It looks like this wins the exchange. However, my bishop is worth both of his rooks.
yeah,
Like, you know, one of the things that you could make a mistake here positionally would be cashing in too soon. Because if you do that and I trade off my active pieces for a meaningless exchange, I might find it hard to break through at the end. So what I want to do first is maximize the potential of all the pieces, and then only then break through in the position. So I have no interest. So after bishop d6, he plays rook e to e7,
yep, rook
saying,
Yep.
please give me.
take
give me
the one on
bishop.
right. Take the rook on e7 instead of the one on c7. What did
And
you
we
do now?
refuse.
Yeah,
So we just go rook f to c1, right? So we're just going to make sure that
you're
that
doubling.
c pawn
Yep.
is there forever.
I will say that,
Yeah.
that what you just said about not cashing in an exchange is something that's probably requires a master to appreciate, because someone like me, I would say, I just got what I was looking for.
Right.
I just won the exchange.
Yeah, right.
Let's keep going.
Yeah, right.
You know?
It happened in my first round game where I cashed in too early,
Yep.
found myself nearly checkmated, had to sacrifice it back, and had to take a draw. So
Okay.
I learned my lesson from 3 rounds
Yeah.
before.
Yeah. But
So now
He
he just goes rook
realizes-
e8 back.
Yeah, he brings the rook back. He says, "Hey, if you're not to take my rook on e7, I'll just bring it back to e8 where I came from." Yeah. So how
So
did
now
you
what I want to make sure is that no knight g5 business happens.
Right.
So I go
Yeah.
h4.
So he,
Right. Exactly. So you
Right,
played h4.
so
You're defending
h4.
the g pawn. Yep.
And now he shuffles his knight back again.
Yeah. Knight comes back to f8. Knight f8. Yep. Okay.
Now here's where I do something kind of, it seems cheeky, but it actually has a real plan behind it. So the killer blow won't be landed on the queen side. It will be landed on the king side.
yeah.
And I want to make sure that I can get my rooks doubled on the H file very fast.
Yep.
Yep.
And I want to do it in a way that I won't give up any perpetual checks. So I go king to G2,
Right.
Yeah.
right? And so now he shuffles the knight again.
Yeah.
Knight
It's
H7.
exactly. He's doing the shuffle. The shuffle. Yeah. Knight h7.
And now we go king G3.
Right.
Right. So
Now
you've,
the H file is completely cleared.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
you can bring your
And the
rooks
first
over.
and second row, yeah.
Yep.
So now I think he goes back again.
Yeah.
Yep. Back to f8. Knight f8. Yeah. He's
It is painful to watch. It
Right.
really
It's
is.
back and forth. Yeah. Right. Okay.
And
so,
then I said here, before I do that, I want to just lock up the queen side. So I go queen to b4.
Yeah, it is kind of amazing. You have time to do whatever it is you want to do.
yeah.
Yeah.
And all he can do is shuffle.
Shuffle his pieces back
Yep.
and forth.
Knight h7. He goes
Yep.
back to h7 with the
And-
knight. Yep.
And like I said, this game is not the most amazing of games, right? But the idea, it's just the level of patience that I showed is probably something that you could learn a lot from. So here I go
agree.
bishop to b5, and now I'm gonna try and go a4 a5
Uh-huh.
before I win on the queen side. So he actually has to stop that, because if I land a5, the game's over,
Uh-huh.
right? So after bishop e5, knight f8,
He goes back.
right? Because he has nothing to
Right.
do.
Yeah.
And here
That's
it
all I can
comes.
do.
Now we go
A4.
a4, and
Okay.
now if he allows a5, the game's over.
Right. So he cannot allow a5. So he now
Goes
will
A5
play
himself.
a5 to stop that. a5
Yep.
is his move. Yep. All right.
Now, obviously, queen a3. Can't give him a queen.
All right.
So now he finally has a square for his bishop. He
Yes.
can move a different piece.
Right.
So he goes bishop a7.
So now he can play bishop a7 because he's vacated the a7 square for the bishop. So
Okay,
what did
and
you
now, now we just end the game
Right.
soon. We go rook h2. So now there's no pieces that can defend the king side.
Yep.
So
Right.
we just switch.
So he now goes back with the
Continues to
knight.
shuffle, yeah.
He's shuffling again.
Now rook h1.
The other rook.
You're doubled on the H file. All right. And all he can do is go again. It's
right
a
back.
dance. He's doing this little dance. Knight f8, back again.
It's a sad dance.
Yep.
It's a
And now we go h5. So now we're going to open the lines, and it's going to be a swift death from here.
right.
So now he
Still.
goes bishop b8.
Bishop e8 is what he plays. Yep. All right. And you.
And so instead of taking on g6,
Yep.
which gives him activity,
Yeah.
we go h6 because he can't ignore that,
No.
right? Because if I go h7,
Oh, yeah.
I'm queening.
You're queening.
right? Like
Right. And he can't allow
So-
that. So he
so
has,
he has to take.
He has to take. G takes h6. That's what he does.
Yep. And so we
okay.
go rook takes.
Rook takes. Okay.
So
And-
he tries to give me another exchange.
Yeah. And he now plays, okay, he now, in response to that, plays rook on the e-file to e7, probably trying to hide what, on e8?
Yeah, he's trying to hide the king.
vacating,
Yeah, he's trying to
hide
trying
there.
to hide the king.
But
And
you can't,
so
you can run, but you can't hide. I mean,
In this
yeah,
case,
so we play rook. We play rook to h8, right?
Right.
To now just pin up, so that knight can't even shuffle anymore.
that's right. Exactly.
And so he does try to hide on e8 now.
So he tries to hide on e8 with the king. King e8.
but now we have the killer blow
Yeah.
with rook takes f8,
Right.
and he loses the house
The house, yes.
because he loses the queen for nothing,
Right.
and
So-
then we'll
So we
lose
can
an
show. I
exchange.
guess
Yeah, we can
might as well
show-
just show.
We can show,
Yeah.
because at this point he realizes he's losing the house, and he doesn't want to actually have you execute that demolition. So he resigned
Yeah.
in this position.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
Because
this was-
he sees what will come if he takes the king takes the rook on f8. You just actually follow through with the rook h8 check.
Yep.
Yep.
And now,
And he only has one.
f7
yeah.
is forced.
This is forced. He could also go to Z. But anyway, he does it.
Yeah.
You're cleaning his what do they call it? The expression
Clock.
cleaning
Cleaning his
the
clock.
clock.
Yeah.
You're cleaning his
Yeah,
clock.
because
yeah. So-
I win. I can win both rooks and the
right,
bishop on
bishop.
b8.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
so it's like literally all pieces drop off. So I thought this was a fun game to share.
Yeah,
It-
This
It-
is something
it
I could
just should-
see getting published in Chess Life or something as an instructional game.
Well, this is
Yeah.
a case. This is a case of strangulation. What you
Yeah.
did is he constricted himself, and you used that to use your play to strangle him. I mean, he had no
it's
play
something you
whatsoever.
learn. It's something you learn from like studying old Karpov games, right? Where Karpov would go and he'd win on one side of the board. So like I won on the queen side, and locked that up. And then once I'm strategically winning on the queen side, I shifted over and strategically won on the king side.
Right.
So that's typically how these things work. You need two weaknesses. If I couldn't break out through on the king side, I probably can't really do much on the queen side. So you need this principle of two weaknesses. So I made sure that he had to pay attention and stay on the queen side and then blow open the king side and win. So I thought that was, but making sure that you improve every piece to the maximum, which is something that Carlsen does like to an amazing degree. I put every single piece on its maximal square before I went for this h4 h5
Right.
breakthrough.
So, what advice? If you're well known as a teacher of chess, you've taught a number of young players, even older players. What advice would you give to those who play chess as far as how to get better? How do they improve in chess? What advice would you give to them as far as what they should be doing, what they should be studying, what they should be doing to improve their game? What's the advice you would give them?
I think for people who are at like the class level, like before expert and stuff, it's to throw away your opening books and
Yes.
just focus on playing chess. And I always tell players who are in the, all the way up to 16, 17, 1800 to go pick up Jeremy Silman's Reassess Your Chess and start to really focus on understanding piece activity, imbalances, the value of the bishop pair, when knights are better than bishops, pawn structures. Studying those things will go way, way further than knowing 20 lines of theory in an opening that nobody will ever play. That stuff becomes important once you're playing against other masters who also know that theory, and when you get to the IM level, it's incredibly important. But at the club level, what's more important is just knowing how to play with your pieces. And I see lots of people who blitz out all this theory, and they looked up some opening moves, and then once it gets to where they don't remember what to do, they don't know any of the plans, and don't know how to actually force an advantage. So I would say, yeah, focus less on openings and focus more on piece activity. I think Alexander Lenderman put it the best way, that chess is a game about time, space, and harmony. Okay. Right? And if you think about those three things in every chess position, like, do I have time to do what I want to do? Do I have the space to do it? And do my pieces work harmoniously together? Right? Those are the three things that are kind of great guiding principles for how to come up with, how to play the middle game. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, we should actually let our viewers know that because you're a very active chess educator, player, that you are going to be doing lectures at the Metro West Chess Club in Framingham, the major chess club in the state as far as activity. Starting actually this Wednesday, you're doing your first of presenting puzzles. I think you're going to present some puzzles or some positions for
I'll talk about positions, and because I think Rizzitano is actually going the week after me, Jim Rizzitano.
Yes, he's actually has he not written a book? His most recent book is on puzzles. Yeah. Right.
So he'll focus on that, and I'll focus on some strategic positions.
Strategic positions.
And like just how to think through a position and know how to plan in chess.
Okay.
So I think it's a good balance against what Riz is going to show versus what I might talk about. So I'm excited to do it again. I did it years ago, and if you go on YouTube and look up the Metro West Chess Club, you can actually find several lectures that I did for them. They're like hour-long lectures.
Okay.
They go pretty deep. So I'm excited to go back to the club on Wednesday, and it might be a once-a-month thing. We'll see what Mark Aprelian wants to do.
So if anybody who's in the Framingham area, because our program reaches players beyond our Fitchburg, Leominster area. We do reach players in the Framingham, Natick area who watch this program, who might be interested in attending your presentation on Wednesday, March 13th, at the Metro West Chess Club. Can we actually tell our viewers where the club meets? I know
it's in Framingham. It's right off of Route 9. It's at a church. But
if they go to the website, if they were to Google the Metro West Chess Club, they would get the address, the directions to the club.
The Metro West Chess Club website is one of the finest websites in chess. Mark is extremely detail-oriented. Not to take away from the Wachusett site, which is also excellent, but Mark takes particular pride in his. And so anything you could possibly want to know about that club is on the website. So if anybody sees it and wants to come, I'd love to see you there. You can say hello.
Oh yeah, because you've played. I remember you again. You've played at various clubs over the years. I mean, besides the Wachusett Chess Club, you played at Metro West, and again you've played at other places also.
Worcester, Waltham.
Right.
I've Boylston. I've played at most of them.
Okay. Well, it was a pleasure having you on this edition of Chess Chat, Rob, and we wish you well in all your future tournament events. We thank you for presenting this game. And we hope that our viewers watch us next time for another good episode of Chess Chat, which again is brought to you courtesy of Fitchburg Access Television. Thank you one and all. See you next time on Chess Chat.